I'm Arpit Burjatia. I'm the founder and CEO at Cerosoft Academia. We are one of the largest education ERP student information system players in India. And we work with 350 odd colleges, universities, and schools. The topic that I'm going to talk about today concerns a very important point that I have observed over the last 15 years of my own journey. And that is the topic of change management. The lady before me who was talking about change makers, which is in a very different context. But the topic that I'm going to talk about is the importance of change management in technology implementations and ERP implementations in specific. The stuff that I'm sharing with you is all based on our personal experience working in this domain for so many years. My favorite author, Robin Sharma, had said that all change is hard at the start, messy in the middle, and gorgeous at the end. So when we embark upon any technology initiative, I would always see it as a big change or a substantial change that is being embraced upon by the institution and its stakeholders. It is very important that we do buy the right technology, that we evaluate it properly, that we put the right resources. But the whole science of change management must also be taken care of. And I will explain one of the things that need to be kept in mind when I am talking of change management, which is the ability to navigate the change that is happening in the organization. The way to think about is a framework called ADKAR. Whenever there is a change happening, what must be thought about as a framework to go about it? And there is a very evolved science around this. And ADKAR basically talks about, it stands for awareness, desire, knowledge, ability, and reinforcement. So let's say an institution, for example, is buying a new ERP or a new technology that they are implementing. How do they go about the ADKAR framework in incorporating this change in the most seamless way possible? At the end of the day, all technology initiatives are also as much of human initiatives because it's ultimately the team, the people in the institution that are driving the change. And so from that respect, as smooth as the change can be, is what will determine the effectiveness and the adoption of that. So let's start with ADKAR. What does it stand for and how does it translate to what we should do as education leaders or implementers? The first one is awareness, right? Whenever there is a change happening, let's say, as I said, I'm using an example of a new ERP implementation in the institution, school, college, or university. Awareness is about understanding the need of why that change is required, right? So it is important that when we bring about a change, the stakeholders concerned and even the larger organization in general is aware, which means they understand why that change is being embarked upon, right? Many times we get into an exercise without the why. And that's when a lot of things start to suffer because the whole organization cannot connect to that end goal of why we are embarking on that journey. So awareness is an important piece, which is the A. How it can be implemented across institutions, I'll give you some real life examples. For example, whenever we do an ERP implementation, we encourage the organization leadership and the team involved to put up posters, send out mailers, create messaging around it, share a WhatsApp message, basically get the change word out that change is coming so that people are aware of the need and what is the change that is happening. So that's awareness, A. Let's get to the D, which is desire. Now the change is coming, you've made people aware, but is that enough? How will you get the entire momentum behind it? How will you get the team to really buy into that and act and put in their energies? That's the D, which is the desire. It is imperative that when that change happens, the desire has to be created amongst the people who are adopting. In case of an ERP, pretty much the entire institution is impacted. Teachers, students, parents as well, management. And the desire must be created. And how do you create the desire is basically the willingness to adopt that change. How are we, how the desire created? Basically, a lot of institutions use different kind of incentives. They also talk about the to be state. They help visualize where the institution will be once the change has come about. And that to be state then drives the vision of a happier place than what you're today. And that creates the intrinsic desire amongst people and the team in general to go for that change. So that's the D. The third one, K, is knowledge. And I think it's pretty easy to understand. Knowledge is basically the tools, the understanding of how to drive that change. So what the change was the A, awareness, but how to drive that change, that's the knowledge. Let's say there's a new system that's coming in ERP. Knowledge is about the right amount of training, the right amount of knowledge that has been imparted to the team so that they can easily and seamlessly adopt that change. That's the K. And how can institutions do more on the K side? It's basically by having different kinds of trainings, and I'm talking from a pure technology tool automation perspective, in-class trainings, asynchronous trainings, videos, manuals, circulating them amongst the stakeholders, training them the way they should be based on their role in the organization without a generalized approach can go a long way in the key part of it, which is the knowledge. Then the fourth part is the ability, right? And ability of any, so ADKAR, fourth letter is A. Ability about a change that's coming, again, deals with making people capable enough to drive that change by themselves and take it forward. So training was one part, that's a start. But then as they face further issues, giving them the hand-holding, support that is required, having like a 24/7 help desk, having the top management see visible as a commitment for that change and support goes a long way creating that capability in people for driving that change. So that's the ability part of it. And finally, the last letter which deals with R is reinforcement. So when you've brought new technology or you're bringing about a big change in the institution, the R, which is reinforcement, after all the activities and steps and training and all that has been rolled out, deals with reinforcement. It is primarily about getting feedback and incorporating that feedback over time as a loop, because that's how you iterate and become better. And the reinforcement that says giving out surveys to people, what they're facing as a challenge, what are the issues, how can the change be done better, is there any more support, resources, tools that the team requires. Getting those feedback at surveys is a way of reinforcing the change by ironing out any last mile problems, niggles that may be happening. So if we follow this ADKAR, ADKAR framework in a meaningful way, in a deliberate way, there is a high likelihood that the change that the institution embarks upon can be seamlessly rolled out vis-a-vis without putting a thought to how the change will be managed. So as I said, we put a lot of thought into buying the technology, deciding what to buy. We put a lot of thought in negotiating with the vendor. We put a lot of thought in maybe planning the rollouts of dates. But the human aspect of making people comfortable with the change that's coming is what is encompassed in this ADKAR framework, which is very important, and I would really encourage all of you to follow this in your respective institutions when you're rolling out any change, small or big. And this, I'm talking from my 15 years of experience doing this over and over again. And institutions that do a conscious, deliberate job of managing the change ultimately come out with flying colors. And as my favorite author said, change being hard at the start, messy in the middle, and gorgeous in the end. Those changes indeed meet with the gorgeous end. That is the intention at the start of the exercise. So that's been my time. Thank you so much. And I hope I was able to add some value in terms of how to drive change and technology adoption in institutions at large. I'm Arpit. You can reach me at arpit@servisoft.com. We'll be happy to take this discussion offline as well. And all the very best for your future endeavors and the changes that you will be taking up as change bringers, as ma'am just said. Thank you, everyone. Have a good one.